You know, when I worked for the state, I was an information
Hillary.
person for the agency.
Um,
And so
Hi.
long hours,
being
I never
here.
got to see how the sausage is made. It's crazy.
Oh, it is very crazy. It is very crazy. Being in a meeting with a lobbyist and with the chair of the committee and the
Yeah.
lobbyist sees this not going their way and she goes, folds up her papers. And it was on Take Your Daughter to Work Day and she had her daughter there. She goes, let's just go count votes.
Yeah.
Into the meeting.
Yeah.
Oh.
I agree with this.
Okay. All right. Thank you all for being here. It is 5:30, so I am going to call the meeting to order. And we'll get started with item number 2, and we'll start with roll call. We'll start with folks on over Zoom.
Okay. Hillary Dykstra, Commissioner.
Sue Faylash, muted. Gary Buick.
Gary Larson, Commissioner.
Lori Davies, Commissioner.
Bill Fosbury, Commissioner.
Aaron Wheeler, Commissioner.
Thank you. So our first item today is electing a interim chair position. So I know that I've mentioned this to everybody that Chair Goodwin and Vice Chair Good have recently resigned. So we need to elect an interim chair. This will just be until we get to item 6.1 of the agenda. So we need to elect permanent presiding officers for the board. And so once we get to that position and we have a new chair elected, then they will take over for the rest of the meeting. So at this time, I guess, would anyone like to submit a nomination for the interim chair position? And I'd just like to note that this is not a formal, we don't need like a formal motion. It can just be, I nominate.
I'll do it.
Okay,
Throw my hat in.
okay. So Aaron nominates. Are there any other nominations? Okay, and then we'll move to elections. And this, we do need a formal motion. So I need someone to make a motion to elect our interim chair position.
I make a motion.
I second the motion.
Motion to elect Aaron Wheeler. Yep. Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I.
Okay, great.
It's gonna be the best 4 minutes of my life.
Congratulations, Commissioner Wheeler,
Yay.
interim chair Wheeler.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
Yep, and so from here, I will turn it over. You can
All right, thank
fill in
you.
the land.
All right, everyone. Well, we will need someone to read the land acknowledgement. Would anyone like to volunteer for that?
I'll do it.
Thank you, Lori.
I got a question. How come at the city council, they didn't do that?
Oh, they didn't? Oh, I'm not.
I don't remember them doing it either.
No, that I was kind of,
Oh, at the work.
is it just
the work
our
session?
identity or is it?
They don't do it during work sessions, but they do it during regular council
Oh,
meetings.
there we go.
There you go. There you go.
Similarly, they don't, my knowledge, do the pledge during work sessions, but they do
That's
during
true.
council meetings.
Oh, interesting.
Thanks, Carter. Yep.
Okay, we, the city of Lacey, are on the ancestral land of the tribal people of the Treaty of the Medicine Creek, including the Nisqually Indian tribe, the Squaxin Island tribe. We acknowledge and remember those tribal people not recognized today who were absorbed or relocated into other tribes for survival. We recognize the ancestors and their descendants who are still here. We recognize and respect the tribal people of the Treaty of Medicine Creek as the traditional stewards of this land since time immemorial and their role today in taking care of these lands in perpetuity. We recognize and have the responsibility to call attention to the histories of dispossession, forced removal, and abridged treaty rights that allowed our nation, state, and cities to develop as they have today. We recommend that community members read the Medicine Creek Treaty of 1854.
Thank you, Lori. All right, so next is number 4 on our agenda, so approval of agenda and the minutes. So I need a motion to approve the agenda as written.
I move to approve the agenda as written.
And can I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And then the approval of the December 4, 2024 meeting minutes. So I'll need an action, a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
I move approval of the December 4th, 2024 meeting minutes.
Second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. All right, so moving to the public comment section. So there is, do we have any public comment? No one's on today? Okay, and then there were some, just, looks like there's just one brief memo. I don't even.
They're in the very back.
It's at the very back, okay.
Yeah, but you don't have to read those were
Right.
the correspondence.
But everyone was able to take a look at it. Okay, perfect. And yeah, so no public comment. And then so all right, so I guess now we number 6 to business items. So I guess presiding officer nominations and elections. So hand that back over to Jenny.
Well, yeah, that's very similar, so you're actually in charge of this too.
Oh,
but,
okay. Well,
Very similar format where,
because we're doing both chair and vice chair,
yep,
correct?
but we're
Okay.
gonna start with the chair.
Okay.
A nomination for the chair, and then we'll do an election for the chair, and then we'll move to the vice chair and do it the same.
Okay.
way.
I don't mind keeping my name in the hat to be permanent chair if that is everyone else's wish. So would anyone like to, I guess, what do I have to, they have to nominate me now? Is that?
Yes, we'd like
okay.
to nominate you. I'll
Okay.
just do it.
Okay.
We'll nominate you, Aram.
All right. Are there any other nominations for it? Okay, then I'd entertain a motion to elect our chair position. Do we have a motion to elect moi, Aaron Wheeler, as chair?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unlimited power. Okay.
He's back in the seat again.
So thank you so much, everyone. But now someone is gonna have to be vice chair. So I don't know if anyone wants to put their name in the hat or someone wants to point their finger at someone else.
I'll nominate Lori. Only because I'm gonna probably miss 2 meetings.
Okay. Awesome. Lori, do you accept that nomination?
I'd be happy to be your vice chair.
Okay, perfect. Then any other nominations? Hillary? No? Okay. Then the nominations are now closed for vice chair, and so we're moving to the election piece. So I need a motion to elect Lori Davies as our vice chair.
I move to elect Lori as our vice chair.
Do I get a second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Awesome. Okay, we have a chair and vice chair now of the Lacey Parks Board.
So what are my duties?
Uh,
Only to fill in.
Yeah, and then we'll talk about my dry cleaning later.
Okay.
And no, yeah, it's pretty chill.
I don't know that we caught, who seconded the election?
Gary did.
Gary, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, yeah, we've burned through that really quick. Thank you, everyone. I know we're gonna really miss Wendy, and she really did a great job.
Yeah, she's a giver.
So
Now, what is your actual job at Inner City Transit?
she's just on a committee as well, but it takes, it's the same time as this board. So yeah. So
And just note that we did check with our city clerk, and although we do have 2 positions open, we still need to have a quorum of 4 people on. So you guys are great about attending and letting us know, so we really appreciate that, but we can only, at this time, only have 1 person not attending the meeting, so.
okay. I guess what's the contingent? I've never ran into it where we haven't had
A
a
quorum,
quorum. So is they just
We
punt
would-
into the next month?
yeah, we would just cancel the meeting.
Okay, okay. All right, well, let's hope we
Look at that.
don't get to that, but we know extenuating circumstances will happen from time to time, especially when we're a little low on members, so. But I guess that moves to 6B, so off-leash dog data presentation from Jenny Wilson.
I feel like I've been promising to come and follow up with you about off-leash dog for a while. Finally, it's here. Oh, thanks for your patience. Okay, so just a quick review. In 2023, we received complaints about off-leash dogs, and it was added to the work plan. In the summer of 2023, we did park observations to understand the scope of the problem, and I presented that data to you at the December Parks Board meeting. And we also received a presentation from Sarah Hawk with Joint Animal Services in 2023. You provided some direction on doing an education and communication signage improvements in the parks. And we decided that once that was implemented, the plan would be to do some more observation in the parks to see how much it improved. And then determine next steps. So I'm back as a follow-up as promised. And so just a review of the challenges, which really are similar. We've been getting complaints. I have a summary of the complaints a little bit later in the presentation. Enforcement is not possible. Joint Animal Services doesn't have enough staff and time to do park patrols. One of the challenges that they had previously was that they weren't fully staffed, and they are now fully staffed, although they just have an overall increase in call volume. So just park patrols just aren't possible for them. Most of our parks are unstaffed, leaving people to follow the rules at their discretion. And people continue to take dogs off leash even if staff are on site. And just a general belief that dogs can't get exercise or have fun unless they're off leash. Here's a review of the options people have locally for off-leash areas. Although there are off-leash dog parks locally, the problem of people being off-leash in parks mostly exists because people want to take their dogs to their local parks, not travel. So the one in Lacey is at the Thurston County Waste and Recovery Center. The hotspots for off-leash dogs really didn't seem to change much from last year. These were the same locations, and we asked staff who were doing the observations this summer to let us know if any of the hotspots changed, and really they didn't. What we're seeing is that off-leash owners often use fenced, secluded, or low populated areas. I think this is showing us that they're trying to be responsible and keep their dogs away from other areas or keep them contained. As you can see this at Rainier Vista, this is a soccer field that's a little bit more depressed. This obviously is fenced baseball area. This is not fully fenced, but there's fencing on these areas. There's just kind of a natural buffer around this open area. This is pretty open, so
How far is at the Woodland Creek one? How close is that to the Frisbee?
there are,
This is like near the, closer to the
yeah, there's,
community center?
the community center is right here.
There, okay,
Yep.
okay,
I mean, there's Frisbee golf
right
right
there.
here. I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty much everywhere around the perimeter
Yeah.
of this area. So as you recall, the plan was to focus on implementing education, communication strategy, and then reassess. So enforcement and park enhancements are long-term higher cost solutions. So just reporting back on what we did for that. We updated our park rule signs and also included some more vibrant and I guess it's cute dog focused information in the marketing area. We included information in our Lacey Life newsletter, the citywide newsletter. I attended an HOA Academy and gave out flyers there. The idea is really to give like information about why they should be keeping their animals on leash, so dogs can get spooked. Park visitors may want to enjoy the park without having to deal with other people's dogs. So kind of taking just a non-punitive approach, but more of an educational approach. We also Oh, the other information is it also tells people where they can take their dogs off leash, so they can go to the Waste and Recovery Center. So just giving them other options. And then we also did tell them to, if they did encounter an off-leash dog or an issue, what to do, just to contact Joint Animal Services. We have also included pretty much throughout the whole year, information in our department newsletter and on social media posts. So kind of changing the messaging and the photos every time. And then also, A-boards were put up at the parks in those hotspot areas in particular, where we see the problem and then also where we receive complaints. And then these are the locations and the quantity of signs that were at each location.
Like at Bush Park, the neighbors always bring their dogs across the road.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the neighbors or some, Bush Park is definitely a park where there's no parking, so people.
Yeah.
It's more of a neighborhood park where people walk to
Yeah.
it. So again, gather data, assess, determine next steps. In 2024, we did 2-hour shifts where staff and volunteers observed the parks. We selected various days and times. The time span was August 23rd through September 18th, which is virtually the exact same time span that we did in 2023. So trying to keep as much of it as the same as possible. And we did have staff and volunteers, so I know Lori and Aaron were out there, so thank you for helping. And again, we had them out there on weekdays, mornings, evenings, weekends, so a good variety of times to gather what's happening. And see the hours that we observed the parks, 2023 to 2024. So very similar amount of times that we observe. There's a little bit of difference between each park, and really that's mainly because some of the staff live closer to certain parks, or, Lori's closer to Rainier Vista, Wonderwood, so it just kind of worked out that way. And so here's the overall assessment, which is in 2023, of all the park users that had dogs, 20% of them were off leash. And in 2024, 12% were off leash. So we saw an 8% improvement in compliance of people keeping their dogs on leash. So I think we can say that's partially due to the signage and maybe the education. And then this is just also some other data. Most of our park users don't have dogs, similar to last year. And then if you throw in all the park users, last year 2.4% were off leash, and this year 1.64% are off leash. So.
Do the Lacey PD, did they have any authority if they see it?
No,
Talk to people?
I mean, they could, but they generally don't do rule enforcement. That would fall to.
Or just advise them, this is off leash.
Yeah,
Have a good day.
Yeah, they could, but I don't think that's really their role. And then I did this chart last year too, because there were various hours observed at each park. The total number of off-leash dogs is kind of a challenging way to look at the numbers. So this chart has it broken off as off-leash dogs per hour. As you can see, there were improvements at each site, although Woodland Creek Park stayed pretty similar. The most significant improvement was at Rainier Vista Park and Bush Park. And then we also looked at tracking dogs that were nuisance, or we define this to staff as out of the voice control of their owners, including dogs that ran up to people in a friendly manner. All the dogs noted here in 2023 and 2024 were friendly and not aggressive. But I do want to recognize that friendly nuisance dogs although they may not be dangerous, it doesn't discount the annoyance that they have to people, especially if people are fearful or if they have reactive dogs. Overall, there were 9 in 2023 and 5 in 2024, so an improvement overall. And then just a summary of the complaints that we received in 2024, because I know I usually include those in your packets and you guys read through those. So we received 13 complaints in 2024, and those are the locations where we're getting the most complaints. Of those complaints, there are only 5 individual complaints. One person accounted for 8 of the 13 complaints. There's someone who frequently visits the park and sends us messages anytime there's an off-leash dog, which again, there's somebody who, you know, has a reactive dog. It's very upsetting to them.
And that's Rainier Vista?
That person in particular goes to a couple different parks. So 10 of the complaints were, they had no adverse interactions except the annoyance that people weren't following rules or that a dog came up to them. But there were some impactful interactions. There was a bite incident at McAllister Park from an off-leash dog.
Ran in front of the bike, or do you know?
I'm sorry, what?
Ran in front of the bike, or?
Oh, a bite incident.
Oh, bike,
Bike.
B-I-T-E,
Yep,
not
sorry.
bike, B-I-K-E.
Sorry.
'Cause I've had them chase me on my bikes. too.
Yes, yep, no, somebody was walking in the McAllister Park and an off-leash dog bit them on their leg.
Oh, wow.
Which
That's not cool.
nope. One incident where a friendly dog approached a reactive dog, causing the reactive owner to get knocked to the ground. And another incident where a group of large dogs surrounded a couple walking. It scared them because they were large dogs, but they weren't attacked. But and then this isn't exactly related, but we did receive a secondhand report that someone was bit at the rack, but the dog was on leash. And then just we had staff observe other rule violations, which we also did in 2023. So total number of off-leash dogs, again, was reduced by 20. We also, I think it's a concern too about people not picking up pet waste. We didn't track last year on-leash dog owners not picking up pet waste, but we did this year. And interestingly, that was higher than the off-leash dog owners, but
It still
Hard.
amazes me to watch somebody and they walk
know.
by the dog bag at Rainier Vista. Well, their dog is right, you know, maybe 100 feet back and don't go back and pick it up. They just run along. It's like, really?
One thing to note that last year, in talking to maintenance staff, they did not believe that pet waste in the parks is a significant problem. So,
Well, that's good.
yeah, so maybe other good Samaritans are coming along and cleaning it.
Well, when you think of the 2 softball fields
Mhm.
and people use it as an off-leash dog park all the time. And
Right.
you'd think that there could be a lot of pet waste there. And I'm surprised that we're
Right.
not seeing, well, that's good.
Right.
That's
So,
good.
Yeah, it was kind of surprising actually to hear that. Smoking and vaping, still the same amount. Alcohol use, same. Amplified music, interestingly, was quite a bit higher. But I think that could just be the person who we had observing is kind of a subjective thing. How you determine amplified music. Yeah. And marijuana use and being and selling in parks. So just interesting information. So I'm gonna assume that we should continue the education and sign efforts. I think there was a good suggestion, perhaps from Commissioner Dykstra, that we remove the signs and refresh them, maybe change the pictures and put them out again in the spring and summer so they don't get stale. Another option is to implement a park watch program that would continue the data collection of rule violations. This would help us continue to monitor the situation and kind of have a pulse on the parks. There are park watch programs where volunteers enforce rules, although that's a little bit more complicated and not something that we're looking to consider at this time. And so I think what we're kind of looking for is just confirmation that that's the direction that the board would like us to go.
Have you had any communication with the school district? All of their fields, I mean, what they're doing in their programs.
No, although I would assume that the school district has a similar problems. Yep. I believe that the school district has signs saying that dogs, I don't want to speak for the
I
school
don't
district.
know, it's been a while, partly because my dog passed away, but I was walking through Camachen late December, and I didn't see any dog signs. They have signs about how it's you can't, just members of the public can't come walking through in schools and
Oh, that
in
might be
session
it. Yeah,
kind of
that might
thing.
be it.
But they didn't, this was a weekend and we used to walk
Right.
our guys through there all the time.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people do that on the weekends, walk their dogs and then they head back to Wonderwood, walk their dogs on Wonderwood and then.
I wonder, there's a lot of construction that happened in Camachen this year, maybe.
There was over the
signage,
last, yeah,
Maybe a last piece to it.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't see anything about dogs. But I don't remember things in the past that much about dogs either.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
I was at the Bowers Center for 21 years. And, all the athletic fields at North Thurston and Chinook and stuff. I don't recall a bad problem. I'm assuming there was, but.
Right. I think there might be a difference. I think there's been a cultural shift in people's idea about dogs. And I think it's much more acceptable for people to take their dogs off leash than there has been in the past. I think a lot more people have dogs than they have in the past.
And they're their kids.
And they're their kids. And like I
With their
said in the
coats on.
beginning, they don't think that they can have fun if they're not on a leash. So I think that's kind of been a big change that's happened, so.
I always bite my tongue when because I walk through probably at least 4 days a week through Rainier Vista. And literally in the last 2 weeks when we've had the nice weather, I haven't been there through once where there hasn't been at least one or more dogs in what I call the Rainier Vista off-leash dog park. And I just want to say, your dog's supposed to be on a leash. That is a ball field, not a dog park, but I just bite my tongue. So I was interested in your comments about the park watch because I feel like I should say something. But then I used to get irritated at people that would say something to me when I had my dog off leash, so.
Right. I think there might be a time where a park watch program maybe grows into that, but I don't think we're quite there
Yeah,
yet.
and I'm not sure. I mean,
I don't know.
like when I was observing for you and then I observe on my own and people are probably 80% or 90% respectful, even the ones that have their dogs running and they have their leash there. And as soon as they get done throwing the chuck it for them in the thing, they put the dog back on the leash and walk out. So I don't know,
Next one, I mean, cost me a $500 vet bill, someone with their dog off leash attacked my dog,
yeah, no, I had the same problem.
but it's, I think it's just an ongoing problem that will.
Mine was $800. Who's your vet?
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jenny, for that. Was there any other discussions you guys wanted to bring up about this topic?
No, I think the course sounds good again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. And it looks like that's really good data that it's decreased.
Without like an enforcement team to like ticket people, I mean, I think that's the only way to actually like probably get it to stop is if you had actually official people who could write tickets to people with their dogs off leash, but we don't have
Got an idea, we could send drones up.
drones, but yeah.
Creepy.
Fun. What a solution.
I had a question about, and this might be a little bit complicated, but I think also leash training a dog can be pretty hard. And I've noticed that like some dogs are just like a pain to have on a leash, and so does the city, what am I trying to say? If we like advertised or were able to partner with some kind of dog trainers, or if we can say, hey, we're looking for dog trainers to like participate in our, city recreation class program to offer classes through the city. I don't know, that could be kind of cool, and especially if they did the classes at the park so other people can like see other dogs getting trained on the leash. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
like a pie in the sky idea,
I
but
feel like we have had dog training.
There was a group there
Classes?
just this week.
Oh, okay.
This week or
I don't
late
know if
last week, there was like 5 of them and they were all golden retrievers, and they were obviously working over by the stormwater part of Rainier Vista. So they were away from most of the people, and they were doing, like, they'd take the dog off leash and they were doing, command sit and then send something and then have the dog bring it back and do it, and then they put the dog back on leash. And I was like, well, is this a class? I mean, but I was surprised. There's probably 5 or 6 of them here.
Do a leash event.
Yeah.
Where people bring, it's an event to promote
Right.
leashes. We get out city dog collars and
Right.
Swag.
Great.
little bandanas that say, Lacey Park Recreation
My sister
Culture
used
on
one of
their,
those at
on the
her
bandanas for the dogs. Like, oh.
Yeah, I know that like we've done, given out like dog poop bags, so
Mhm.
similarly we could.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will check into that. I feel like we have in the past, not in the near recent past, but we have done like dog obedience classes, and so I can check with our recreation.
We used to do it a long time ago. We used to do them. Classes.
That's cool. I mean, maybe there's not that many dog trainers. And there are just I have a friend who's a veterinarian, and she said that since COVID, the amount of people with pets has just grown like exponentially. So a lot more people have dogs than they did even just a few years ago. So veterinary clinics are like having a hard time finding space for new patients, as an anecdotal example of what we were talking about earlier.
They're also bringing them to the parks.
Well, thank you. Awesome. Well, if we've I had some dog pun that I lost, but yeah, let's move on to 6C, which is the alcohol special events applications. I don't think is Justin with us
No,
online?
Justin's not gonna be here today. I'm gonna take care of it for him. He ended up having to work later at the center, so. In your packet, you've got 2 different applications. One is from Change the Narrative, which is an event at Hunter Park, and one for Ole Soccer Foundation at the RAC, which is a new request from USL. Just to kind of, before I go into each of them, both applications have been routed through the city departments and have been approved all the way across the board. You were basically the final step. Change the Narrative is a nonprofit group. They actually applied in 2024 and you guys did approve them. However, their group that was supposed to help run the beer garden fell through during their summer concert series. So they did not end up actually doing one. So since they didn't actually do it, we would have to go through the process again. And they have some new leadership in 2024. And there's 4 different dates that they've requested for 2025. So I guess I'd like to start with that one, since it's already gone through you guys last year. Is there any questions? They're doing a little concert series at Hunter Park and then have a beer and wine garden there.
I don't have any questions.
I don't know if Jenny, you want to approve them separately?
Well, I mean, we can do it together.
Yeah, I think
Is
they're
there,
fine together.
I mean, it's
Okay.
already passed through the city, right? So the city's already approved it. I mean, does anyone
Yeah.
have any issues with the discussions first before we just go to a vote?
The next one is the Ole Soccer Foundation. And we have a group that it's a USL soccer matches. They are going to be playing them at the Regional Athletic Complex. They have matches between May and July. Historically, they have done these matches out at South Sound Stadium, but they're trying to make Lacey a home and would like to make RAC their home. They will be fenced off. They're actually bringing teams from all over. They'll have, in order to host these, he's having to actually bring in a trailer with showers. They're gonna rope it off. It's gonna be a ticketed events. We did the walkthrough on where you do the beer garden. He also has like some other areas, like for Kids Zone, which is gonna be on the completely opposite side of the area. He's got all his ducks in a row. There's about 10 matches slated, or time slots slated from May through July. And that would be held out at right off of soccer field number 1, because they'll be playing their matches on the synthetic soccer field.
So the beer garden would be by soccer field number 1, is that what you're saying?
Yep, because it's all part of their matches, part of their deal. It's all fenced off. It's going to be an actual, pretty much an enclosed tent, with the exception of the one side that faces or what he explained to us the other day. He's going to do a 10 by 20 tent with one side open facing the field. And it's obviously it's going to have to be fenced in. They will have security like they have to have when they're doing this. Everybody will have their mask and everything else. So he's got all that stuff covered.
And carding the people.
Yeah,
who are
that'll be
family
security.
events.
That'll be the security. I mean, and he does have security hired for that. Or he has a contract for security for it.
Awesome. Well, I guess, do I get someone to make a motion to,
Yeah, what's a soccer game without beer?
Exactly.
Yeah, so the motion is to approve both 2 special event applications at the same time. So I just want to specify that, and you're fine making a motion for that. Do I get a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Well, you got your beer gardens.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Don't drink them all.
Oh, I won't. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, Sue. Okay, well then, I guess that leads us to 6D, the annual report message from Jenny.
So in your packet, I attached a draft of the annual report message from Parks Board. This is intended to be a high-level overview of the accomplishments and highlights to include as a narrative report. So obviously open to suggestions. This is intended to be kind of a message from you to the community related to the department's accomplishments. At our next Parks Board meeting, we'll have a draft of the actual annual report for you to also review. So
And then when does the annual report or the message go out then?
it'll be within that annual report.
So next meeting is when it'll be available to the public?
No, at the next meeting, we'll have a draft.
Draft, and then when does it available to the public? What's the timeline?
For the most part, it'll be done by in the next 2 weeks. I've got all the data. I'm just waiting for your guys' message, and I've just got to do some jockeying around of some information, but for the most part, it's almost done.
It'll be publicly available after this board approves it.
And
Yeah.
the year is January to December of each year, calendar year, right?
Okay, and this is an actionable item, isn't it?
Yes,
So,
please.
so can I get a motion to approve the annual reported message as is?
I make the motion.
Second.
Give me a second. Any additional discussions about this, guys? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Yeah, so now number 7, so it's time for reports. So do any commissioners have anything that they want to report?
Got a question.
Okay.
How's
Howdy.
Greg Cook?
Well, it's in my report, don't you worry.
There's a lot of news in the Lacey Life and other newsletter about it.
Yep.
Anyone else? Okay. I did have one thing that I wanted to bring up as no chair. And in a few years ago, the city had put up so there's a church on Ruddle, and there's a big cell phone tower, and there was an osprey nest. And they just removed that entire tower and put a new one in its place, and took the osprey nest like remove the whole thing, so there's now no longer an osprey nest.
Oh, really?
And you know, we kind of watched it happen, and we've enjoyed watching those osprey for the last 6 years, you know, get a new family every single time and watch them fly, and even they put one of those little tent things on there to help prevent, because I know that at Wanchers, I think they actually built a stand, and it sounds like that didn't take, and they put like one of those things a tent over it to prevent, and the ospreys didn't really, I think that tent, they'd sit on top of the tent, and it didn't really stop them from doing much. But they removed the entire cell phone tower I don't know if it was to mitigate the osprey, but we were just kind of curious if there's any way that the city had any more information on how or why, like, that was removed.
I can.
Is that a big unrunnel there right by the cemetery, the tall one?
No, it's not
No.
a cemetery, it's a church kind of over, across the street from.
Grace Community, Grace Life
Yeah,
Church
yeah.
or something
And
like
there's a
that?
big cell phone tower, and they, you know, it looked like, I don't know if it was just they're replacing the old one but yeah, it was just all of a sudden they just removed it. They built one right behind it and they took it down. And I didn't know if it was because of the osprey or not, or if there was if there's any effort to like move those ospreys somewhere else.
Well, I had an experience on the Rochester School District. There was an osprey nest on the football field lighting.
Hmm.
And I did the environmental impact statement, and I recommended as a lead agency, the school districts were lead agency, and I recommended do nothing. It's been there for 20 years and watching the football games. It didn't bother them with the noise.
Yeah,
And it raised heck with everybody, you know. And then I had to hire Fish and Wildlife to come out and make an assessment, and they said the same thing.
just leave it.
Do nothing.
I mean, I can see in this situation, I mean, it could make it difficult to be able to work on it's a cell phone tower, you know, so I mean, I can understand it needing to be mitigated, but I was just kind of hoping that there was an effort to lessen the impact to the osprey itself.
Is it on church property?
No,
Right
it's
on the edge of the
yeah, it's on the
sidewalk. and
green,
parking
it's on the
lot.
green belt
Mhm.
right next to it.
Yeah, I remember I do remember them doing the work. I just didn't realize there was an osprey.
Yeah, that was, I mean, for years, like I said, 5-6 years.
Port of
ago.
Olympia has their one, and they have their video camera that you can watch.
Yeah.
The babies every year.
On the crane, you know, but I mean,
Exactly.
someone had to like, you had to put up a new,
Just wonder if it's gonna
device,
show up
you know.
again. People, maybe they
Well-
got the nest somewhere else. and-
hopefully that's, I was just kind of hoping there's
Right.
maybe some more information we
Yeah,
can learn about that.
I, at the very least, I can find out.
Okay,
who
thank you.
directed you.
Awesome. So that's all I had. Recreational manager?
That would be me. First off, just gonna tell you, it was kind of had an exciting last couple of months. Byron, who you've met, celebrated his 1 year with our department in December. And Scott Carter, who does our aquatics, and young gentleman Carter over there, who's helping out meetings, both celebrated their 1 year anniversaries with the city in January. So that's kind of exciting. We're fully staffed and we're getting through those milestones. So that's one thing I wanted to kind of give a shout out to those guys for, because it's great to have them among us. The other part is I do have our program, the quarterly program updates. I'm not going to read everything on here. They are in your packets, but I'll go over the highlights for each area. So for aquatics, one of the things that Scott did is he started tracking the skills for the swim lesson swimmers and giving out report cards to the parents after the swim sessions. He also hired 4 new part-time staff for the fall, got them trained and prepared for summer swim lessons. So that was kind of exciting. He was able to use the winter break to run a lifeguarding class and get them all up and ready. He's also getting ready to kick off the volunteer park watch program where there's going to be like 20, I think they're starting out with 15 to 20 individuals. They'll have different parks and different times, and he'll have that kind of a scorecard, and they'll just literally observe and see what's happening and make notations. Then they'll come back together as a group either every other month, I believe is what we're going to start with. And they'll discuss what's happening at the different parks so we can get a better idea of what's happening and what we need to work on and what we can try to fix. There's not going to be any fast solutions, but at least we're going to be able to have some eyes in the park. So that'll be nice. Jeanette's special events. She was really busy. Most of you know, there was Children's Day in the fall, all of the holidays, the holiday lights, which was a great success, the signing Santa, cookies with Mrs. Claus, and always the breakfast with Santa. For the community recreation, the Lacey Teen Nights have continued to be really successful. They kicked them off again this fall. The school year, the adult outdoor trips, and the tour participants have been going on the participation has been going up on a regular basis, so that's been really nice. And they added a couple new classes. Facilities rentals, it was a really good year for us for facility wise. The community center, Jacob Smith, are pretty much back up to what we were pre-COVID and have been busier than ever. One thing I always like to talk, it's hard to talk when we're in January, we're have to talk about the fall, but we ended up having to sand down the community center floors and then redo them, and they look absolutely beautiful. It's the last time we're gonna be able to sand them all the way down, but the company did a fantastic job and they're looking really good. And we're continuing to offer other classes at our community classes, some of them at the community center in Jacob Smith House. The RAC, busy as ever. He had 13 tournaments, over $30,000 in revenue. They had a softball league, which in the fall, which had 8 men's team and 8 co-ed teams. So that is continuing to prosper. Lacey Youth Basketball started off this fall. We had 30 total teams with 4 divisions and a total of 291 players. We're hoping to expand it next year and bring even more kids in. They're wanting to add an additional 6th grade basketball next year and see if we can kind of keep that momentum going. The front desk and customer service. Across all transaction types, registration, refunds, user credits, financial assistance, the front desk processed 665 transactions totaling $159,420 during the 4th quarter, in addition to assisting residents over the phone and at City Hall with numerous questions about the recreation offerings and park. Special events, special events navigating the staff's transition, because we have a new special events person, as you know, and it's just been busy. Museum, they're just continuing to continuing to focus on opening the 6th Avenue or the 6th Avenue and the Bell Tower. So we're getting closer to getting that all going. So we'll have those 2 locations. So hopefully we'll have a lot more to tell you about next quarter. And that would be it. Any questions?
No. Anyone?
Thank you, Sue.
Awesome. Thank you, Sue. All
There
right.
you go.
All right. Some water. All right, 7E, our senior parks planner. Wait, what did I say? 7. Oh, D. Oh, it's a parks maintenance supervisor. My apologies.
So I'm giving Jamie's report. So it's a really long report. So they removed holiday lights from Huntermore Park. They prepared for this year's display by adding props, lights, and programming sequencing. They drafted an emerald ash borer response plan. And so
What kind of response?
it's a response plan. So an ash borer is like a beetle that's really invasive and very damaging to ash trees.
Okay.
So it's
So we've seen some and now we have to.
I don't know that we've seen some, but I do recall hearing that they've been seen in like Portland or in Oregon, so they've been making their way, so.
Oh, okay.
What are they? Sorry, I missed the.
Oh, it's a beetle, I think, an insect that's.
Oh, like an invasive species or?
Yeah, that's damaging to trees, so.
Darn it.
Toured athletic complexes in Southwest Washington in preparation for RAC Phase 3. They updated a planned response for fire hazards, issued 9 firewood permits. So after they, I believe that's after they cut down trees in the parks, they issue permits for folks to come use that. Completed trail mapping project with some Rotary groups. their staff obtained certifications, a CDL license and a pesticide license.
So back to the trail mapping?
Mhm.
Are they gonna develop a map for all the trails and all the parks? Is that what they're doing?
That's our goal, yes.
And the Rotary clubs are gonna do that for us?
Yeah, so we got some grant money some sponsorship grant money from 2 Rotary clubs. And they also volunteered to take like GPS devices and
Mhm.
actually walk all the trails
Oh,
so
cool.
that we could have data to turn that into like a graphic design for a trail mapping.
And then put it on the web so people can,
Right.
oh, way cool.
Or have a printed map. So that's phase 2. So we're getting there. So Jamie,
Naming rights to all the trails.
right. And let's see, their staff also had over 200 combined hours of training in pump maintenance, pest management, incident command and turf maintenance. They replaced synthetic turf in the bullpens at the rack. They rebuilt park rule sign frame at Rainier Vista. They filled potholes in the gravel lots at McAllister Park, Jacob Smith House, and the depot. They redesigned the irrigation for Civic Plaza in preparation for a re-landscaping project in the spring. They finished mapping rack assets in a GIS program. They removed 103 hazard trees, repaired a bollard and garbage can, added distance markers to the home and outfield fences. They applied de-icer to parks and facilities on 8 days, mitigated 8 acts of graffiti, Rainier Vista, Holman, and Long Lake. They selected 4 seasonals to fill positions at the rack and Rainier Vista, and they installed a replacement wave climber slide at the rack. And they're coordinating warranty replacement of soccer field 1 at the rack.
Busy.
They look good though. I mean, Jacob House looks good.
They
Good-
work
good
really
job.
hard and yeah. How short staffed they are, they are super proactive and they do a really good job.
For sure.
Hey, Jenny, just a little note on the replacement or the synthetic on rack field number 1. That is gonna happen March. So we're shutting down rack soccer field number 1 for the entire month of March. They will come in, strip it out, well, pull all the gel things out or whatever, pearls, and lay brand new carpet down and then redo it. So it will be closed for a month and they will start work on that first week of March.
Extra question?
Yeah, sorry, I heard you say their maintenance team is short-staffed. Is that due to funding or just it's hard to fill positions? I was curious about that.
I think they have a hard time filling like seasonal positions. But I think just in general, funding is always a challenge.
Yeah.
Getting permanent full-time positions is very, very hard to come by.
Okay.
There's always requests that get put in for maintenance positions and it's hard to get any full-time positions in the city added, but.
No, okay. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, well, any other comments or questions about the park maintenance supervisor report? All right, then moving on to 7E,
Yes.
which is our senior parks plan.
So the Parks Improvement Funding Work Group recommendation was presented to City Council December 17th, and there was a follow-up meeting January 14th. City Council discussed it at their council retreat on January 30th and 31st, and unanimously approved for staff to proceed in preparing a resolution for a Metropolitan Park District with the city of Lacey as the boundary. So we'll keep you updated about the progress in future meetings. So there hasn't yet been a determination on the levy rate or,
And then that'll become a ballot measure?
Yep.
Probably what, November or the following? summer?
I think there's discussion, they're looking at August.
August, that quick?
So it's not-
Wow, so they're gonna do a special election?
No,
August,
Would have to be if it was.
or is it
levy?
the primary?
it's a primary.
Oh, tied to the primary. Oh,
Ooh, that really, those dates are gonna be tight. I
yeah,
think they gotta get everything done by May.
yeah.
We're on it. The RAC,
We have to get input on the name. 'Cause I don't know if you've noticed, but Tacoma has, I think, one of 2 metropolitan park districts in the state.
oh,
And they have gone through various iterations and now they're finally back to Tacoma Parks.
yeah,
Parks to come.
Parks
Parks
Tacoma,
Tacoma,
yeah, that's
yeah.
right, they
And
did
so-
this recently, yeah.
I would hate for us to go down the road of this gigantic name or an acronym that no one can pronounce when we're trying to sell people on the idea.
That's a good
Branding
question.
is everything.
It will be for this one.
Yes, it will.
The schools are gonna
I
ask for.
had a, I'm glad you brought that up, Bill, because I had a question about I think I just don't understand, like, the name, like, do we have to establish an entity in order to request funding for it, or?
Well,
Oh.
You establish the entity under statute.
Okay,
You can name it what you want, but it just gives you authority as the entity to actually levy a property tax for the
okay,
sole purpose of parks. And you
because
can.
right now, it's
Yeah.
just it's just like a program in the city.
Right, and cities and counties can fund it too.
Yeah.
Because the boundary will only be within the city limits. I don't see why Thurston County would want to fund it, but they could offer. Tacoma gives a large chunk of money to Parks Tacoma.
Okay, so what would that mean for this board? Would it change the way that we operate? If the
I believe state law requires that the Parks Board members be elected. And I think you can choose how many you have. And I don't know if you can have like 1 or 2 of them appointed from the city. I think you might be able to set it up differently.
If I.
I don't know that for a fact.
Right, I think it gets spelled out in the ballot measure what the governing is, and I think it's the city council is the ex officio, am I correct?
So by default, it would be.
The city council is the Parks Board.
Sort of, so by default with the statute with an MPD, the county treasurer, I'm saying that hesitantly, is the one who oversees it. It is common when the county is not involved in the MPD to forfeit that authority to the legislative body for the jurisdiction the MPD is part of. In this case, the city council would be the managing authority, similar to how the city council largely manages the budget for the Parks Department as it is.
That makes
So-
sense, because you gotta have a place to keep the money.
For sure. So it could certainly spark conversations about changes to this board, but we haven't gotten to that point as far as I'm aware.
I'm sorry. If they go forward with this, which it sounds like they are going to, can we have like a little mini info session on it?
That would
Yes,
be nice. Yeah.
And the levy and the terms of the levy and these kind of
Yes.
things. Yes, that'd be great.
And if it doesn't go through, you know, I don't know. Because it's really sad, the last MPD that it passed by such a small amount.
It was close, yeah.
I had, it was years ago, but I had met a city council member from Hillsborough, Oregon. And they had issues with getting their parks approved and they piggybacked it on the police and fire. So it was like the Parks Department was just part of the levy that was with the fire department, with the police department. They all voted at once and they're like, we got money that way. So I don't know if there's an option to like piggyback on that if this fails. You know, can we just be on the tail end of someone else?
Feedback with the school levy. Did Ruth even bring that up? No, probably not.
Okay.
yeah, but for sure we can do and more information session when.
Thank you. All right, was that anything else, Jenny?
Oh, yep, I have some more.
Okay, good.
Of course I do. Okay, so the RAC Historic Kiosk that we worked with Thurston County Historic Commission is mostly completed. So I have a few photos. So the themes for the panels are points of interest, the regional athletic complex, St. Martin's University Tribe, Nisqually Delta, JBLM, and the city of Lacey. So let's quickly show you what those look like. So these are all out there right now. There's one that has not been posted yet, which is on the Evergreen Ballroom. I'm not sure what the delay is on that one. So it's a great little kiosk if you want to go out there and take a look. They tentatively have a ribbon cutting ceremony scheduled for March 8th. So invites for that will come. So hang tight on that one.
How frequently will the themes be rotated?
Oh, good question. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know that they're gonna be changing super frequently, but these are, not. These panels can be reprinted, but I can check. It took quite a bit of time to get all those panels collected, so.
Yeah.
Well over
Yeah, now,
years.
who, is it just, was the recommendations from people, like suggestions, or was it just kind of an internal committee with the?
I think the Thurston County Historic Commission pretty much took the lead.
Okay.
But they came to Lacey's Historic Commission to get them approved. So I think they definitely worked with us on themes to pick.
Cool.
There was tribal input as well.
Good.
Yep. Also, we just want to report that we have also made progress on the McKinney building. A wetland report is complete. What we learned from that is that Woodland Creek and its buffer are very close to the west side of the building, but the property to the north and east are fairly open. They identified some Gary oak trees that would need to be preserved. And of course, there's significant challenges like building condition, zoning and infrastructure requirements for potential development and impact with the habitat reserve, but just moving along on that. And we also have a consultant on board doing research on both the McKinney building and Long Lake House to determine if they should be on any historic registers or any features that are historically significant. So both of those kind of determining the future of that site. So
The Long Lake House, is that the on the property that we purchased?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I thought we had already slated that was gonna be demolished, but it looks like they're.
yeah, since we have this consultant that's doing work on these other ones, we just want to make sure that one's also not historically significant.
Okay.
We demo it. We're not entirely sure, but it seems like there might be some significance to it, so.
Okay.
And then also Woodland Creek Bridge Replacement Project is moving forward. We met with the Army Corps of Engineers, the Department of Ecology, to discuss the bridge design and height. There was some discussion about needing to increase the bridge height for flooding. But if we do that, it would make significant impacts to the overall footprint design. So that's kind of being considered right now by those groups. So, and then I also talked to you guys and handed out the demographic stipend form, so please return those. And I emailed the demographic survey information, so if you can get those turned in by the 28th, that would be great. And then lastly, the city has recently launched the Lacey Community Academy, which is a course to provide community members with an interactive, hands-on overview of government operations. So our department will be presenting March 13th, and we're going to share all of our projects and highlight some recreation classes and programs. It's basically once per week for 6 weeks, and it sounds like the city had really significant interest. They had to close applications early because they had so many people interested in it, so pretty exciting.
Nice.
Jenny, I have a question.
Yeah.
So we filled these forms out last year.
Mhm.
I thought I heard something about because of the dollar amount and calling it a stipend, we weren't gonna get a 1099.
Oh,
Do you know is that true?
I am not sure. Let me check. I think Commissioner Dykstra had a similar question, so I'll check on that.
Curious about that also.
So was that stipend that we sent, is that the demographic handout? Or I guess,
There's
it-
a link
It's
in
inside.
the email for the demographic survey.
okay.
That's.
I guess cause I clicked on on the PDF and I was like, that doesn't look like a survey.
Yeah.
But it's okay, I see where the link is. Okay, I found it now. Okay, thank you.
Cause the stipend is taxable, right? It's taxable income.
I don't know.
I'm not entirely sure, but I will
Okay.
ask if you guys are getting. I think it is.
I think if it's under 500, right, then it's not taxable. The bank, right?
I think we're doing our taxes this week, so that was like, I don't know what to do with this.
Check, so.
I guess I enjoy it. Every now and then I'm like, oh,
Yeah, it's like, we got.
we're going to go to the buffet, guys. I got $50. Right, was that it from your
Yep,
point of view? All right, but you're probably doing F as well. You got the director's job, so, all right.
so given the director's report, so construction bids for Greg Cuyo Park Phase 1A were opened on January 28th. There were 10 bidders total, and the award was approved by City Council last night. The award went to the low bidder Midway Underground from Toledo. The approved amount was a little over 6.1 million. The engineer's estimate was about 5.8 million. So work is expected to begin in March and is intended to be completed by October. But there are some items that are longer lead times, like we think the shelter and playground. But we think that the majority of items should be done by the end of June. So some portions of the park may be open to the public. Around then, so.
10 bidders,
I'm sorry, what?
10 bidders,
10 bidders, yes.
a lot.
Yep. And then we're looking at doing a groundbreaking ceremony on Thursday, March 6th at 4 p.m. So I'll be getting. Yes, and it's gonna be not open to the public because there's no parking
Where are they
there.
gonna work?
Right, so we'll meet here and then shuttle just council members, Parks Board, and then we're planning on live streaming it for the public, so but I'll send out invites to you guys for that. Yeah, so that's mainly just because it's really not a great safe terrain for the public, but. And then we have also launched the design process for RAC Phase 3. There's a landscape architect hired to provide design options with an emphasis on baseball and softball. Depending on budget, it could include college level regulation baseball field, additional softball fields, resurfacing of existing soccer field to synthetic turf and adding lights, an additional playground, frontage improvements, utility improvements, an at-grade crossing off Marvin Road, additional parking, walking trails.
So not a tunnel or a walking bridge?
No. No. The consultants will be providing 3 concepts to present to council in May. As is true with the current RAC, we envision plenty of free opportunities to take a walk or bring kids to play. And opportunities for local and regional teams to use sports fields. And we're expecting construction to begin in 2027 to stay eligible for the PFD extension funding.
Will it have its own parking on that side?
Yes, it's the plan.
And the original plans for the Phase 3, are those just none of that considered? These are I mean, it's like over 10 years ago, right? 10, 15 years ago, there was original.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. That's a good question. You can check.
To my knowledge, those have been submitted to the consultant for consideration.
Oh, okay.
That's all that I had to report.
That's all you got?
Yep.
Well, that just leaves 8, which is adjourn, everyone. So thank you so much for being here. It's 6:39, one of the quicker meetings, I think. I like it.
Thank you.
It's all due to the chair.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, when's the next meeting? It's
Next meeting is March 5th.
March 5th. All right.
Okay, goodbye, everyone.
Hi, Hillary. Thank you.